Okay, today is the day. Bro, I had 5 to 7 dreams last night, and they were all about the driving exam. And at least in one of those dreams, I passed, so maybe that's a sign. Bro. Anyways, it's happening. I'm going for a quick lesson with my driving instructor, then the exam afterwards. And I'm going to find out if I will have to pay another 320 euros for another driving exam, or if this is the exam where I pass. I passed the exam. There were some tiny mistakes I made. I think I'll talk more about this later when I'm making a whole review of the exam. But I passed. I'm so happy. I'm so happy I don't have to pay another exam money. In total, I've spent over 1,800 euros for this driving license journey. I spent like 150 or 180 euros for the theory exam. Well, it was a theory crash course and the exam itself. I have a video on that, you can check it out. I spent around 1,500 euros for the driving lessons and the driving exam. I also spent like 40 or 50 euros for a health certificate, which you do on the CBR website. And I'm still going to spend around 60 euros in the next few weeks to register and get my driving license. On average, you hear people spending up to 2,500 euros for this whole driving license journey. Sometimes they take as much as 30 to 35 lessons. If I had failed this exam, I would have had to pay another 320 euros. So I'm glad I don't have to pay that. I'm glad I passed on my first try, and I'm so excited that I can now get a driver's license and drive in the Netherlands, even though I don't plan on getting a car anytime soon. In my previous video, I talked about the different things I was doing to prepare for this exam, and I mentioned that I was going to watch some videos. Now, I checked out some videos online, but one video that stood out to me was this one. This is a driving test mock exam. I'll leave a link below. It basically just shows you what a driving exam looks like, with your examinator sitting beside you, telling you what to do and things like that. Coming down to the exam itself, yesterday, it went really nice, and I think a big reason why it went this way wasn't just because of the approach that I had towards the exam or the things I have learned or my skill or whatever, but also because I had a very chill examinator. There were a few things I did wrong. They weren't like big mistakes or unsafe mistakes, but there were better ways I should have done it that I didn't do, which I fixed, of course. But I've had cases where if you had a strict examinator, some of those mistakes they might just fail you on. So in my case, even though I made these mistakes, I had the opportunity to fix it, and yeah, it was an all in all chill atmosphere in the car. I even had conversations with the examinator. We're talking about our jobs, how long we've been doing our jobs, how long we've been in Netherlands, all of these kind of conversations. So yeah, I think that was a big factor to what made me feel confident, to what made me not overthink, or maybe I overthought once or twice. Yeah, it was a really chill atmosphere. But there were also a couple of tips that helped me during this exam, which I also want to share here. The first big thing was that I was very confident. From my previous video, the research I did online, I had that making mistakes is not the end of the world. It is how you recover from the mistakes that is important. Like previously, I would think, this is an exam, you shouldn't make any mistake, but you are not perfect. You can make mistakes, but how do you recover? Do you panic? Do you shake? Do you get scared? And that was really something that I showed. In the few mistakes I made, I was able to recover confidently. Oh, I should have gone left sooner, and then I just fixed it. The second big thing was to really pay attention to your environment. I was looking around. I wasn't just looking around unnecessarily, but especially at intersections, changing lanes, crossing a bicycle path. I was looking who is behind me, who is by my side, who is at my shoulder. If you've probably watched some videos on TikTok or Instagram, you'll see things like you have to really look like this. That wasn't really what I was doing, but my looks were very obvious because I had to be aware of what was happening around me. Another tip, which comes from a personal experience, it might be different for other people, is don't try out a different instructor just before your exam. So I had one instructor from the beginning of my driving lessons, but then a few days before my driving exams, a few things came up and I couldn't meet with my instructor anymore, and now I had to find a different instructor. Now, getting a different instructor is nice because you get a different perspective, you get to see different preferences. But this is something I recommend you do, I don't know, probably at the beginning part of your lessons or at the middle part of your lessons, but not when you're very close to exams. I had my exam yesterday and I was introduced to a new instructor from like last week. This new instructor came with his own tips, his own preferences, which honestly, if I had learned from the beginning, they would have been really nice. Some tips I even like more than my main instructor's tips. But the problem was, I'm already used to something else from the beginning, so all these preferences started conflicting with the preference that I already have in my head. So it became a bit of a conflict, and even though I was able to still learn a few things from this other instructor, I still wish I had my main instructor, because then I could just focus on the preferences that I already know. Anyways, that's the story of my driving exam. For those who have followed my journey from the theory through the lessons up until this point, well, I hope you enjoyed everything I had to share. I think in total I spent 22 to 24 hours preparing for my exam. I think I had like 20 or 21 hours with my main instructor, and then when my main instructor wasn't available, I had like 3 hours. Yeah, 2 or 3 hours with the other instructor. So everything is like 23 or 24 hours. Like I mentioned earlier, some people have an average of 30 to 35 lessons. I'm not gonna lie, I'm also kind of shocked that I could do this in just 24 lessons, especially because I am learning a manual car, not an automatic car. In that, I am honestly proud of myself. Now, so my driving license, the way driving license works here is that you go to your municipality. Sometimes you can go directly, sometimes you have to make an appointment. In my case, I've made an appointment, and the earliest time I could find to register for a driving license is in 2 weeks time. I was hoping I could already have my driving license by next week, but apparently I have to wait for 2 weeks to register, and then after 5 or 6 days I get the license. So hopefully I should have my driving license by April. And I actually have a nice idea I want to try out. Let me know if you'd be interested in this. So I was thinking, when I have my driving license, I would get a car, rent. Well, why rent? My girlfriend has a car. I'll get my girlfriend's car, and then I can show you what the driving lessons or the driving exam looks like. What the instructor or the examinator would tell you to do: go left, go right, do this, do that. And I'll be able to show you some of that based on what I've learned. Of course, it would be much better if someone who has an experience with the CBR can make these videos, but you don't find many of that online, especially English. But I also want to show you what that can look like to sort of give you an idea of what to expect or what the feeling is like. Yeah, I'll probably share in the comments when I get my driving license. I'll probably also make my video of first time driving in the Netherlands. I don't know, I'm excited about this new phase of my life. Even though I'm not actually getting a car, at least if a car is available, I can now take people on weekend trips or even city trips, whatever ideas come to mind. Anyways, thanks for watching, thanks for following me through this whole driving journey, and see you in my next video.